Greetings, knowledge seekers. The force is with you. In this video, I'm going to show you how through the power of rekordbox and macOS, we can add turntables with DVS control to your entry-level rekordbox supported DJ controller. A while back, I did a performance video where I was using turntables with the DDJ-FLX6. And for the last 2 years, people have been asking me to do a tutorial on how I set that up. The reason I was never able to do it is because the specific interface I was using, the SL3, was no longer driver supported by the manufacturer. It's not class compliant, so it has to operate with the driver. And when you're working with a Mac, oftentimes a new version almost always needs to be created when a new macOS version is released. So that means no new drivers. At the time, I was using the already outdated macOS High Sierra, and I had to upgrade to keep up with the latest updates of all other software on that computer. So that meant bye-bye to the SL3, and there was no way for me to make a tutorial. Well, I was using the Flex 6. Why do I need an interface? Well, what I did in a nutshell was I combined the interface and the Flex 6 to read as one device, and I was able to pull it out of rekordbox. But to do this tutorial, what I needed was a DJ audio interface that met specific criteria. Well, I dove into the used gear market, and I found one. So let's break down how to do this, but first we have to let you know.
This video is brought to you by Direct Music Service. Check out the description or the pinned comment below for discount codes.
So, entry-level DJ controllers like the DDJ-FLX6 GT that I have here, or ones like the DDJ-FLX4, don't have a full interface with phono inputs for turntables. It's not really designed to take on external gear. However, in macOS, we have the ability of combining multiple hardware audio devices into one virtual device. Basically, we can combine the audio interface with the DDJ-FLX6 and get rekordbox to read it as one single device. That's one of the awesome things about rekordbox. As long as you have a rekordbox device connected, you can configure the audio inputs and outputs with just about any audio device. If you want to output your audio from a Universal Audio Apollo X8 while you're using a DDJ-200, that's entirely possible in rekordbox. While rekordbox provides options to let you customize your audio configuration with multiple devices, there is no guarantee they will work perfectly together. So just remember, do this at your own risk, and you might not want to do this at a gig. This is for something you can do at home and you can try out and get your feet wet with DVS. So first thing, let's list everything we need. Number 1, we need a Mac or a MacBook. While aggregating isn't impossible on Windows, I have yet to see a reliable utility that keeps all your device in sync. The factory audio MIDI setup utility built into macOS makes aggregating easy. Number 2, you need a rekordbox compatible entry-level controller. The DDJ-FLX6 GT is one, as well as the former DDJ-FLX6. The DDJ-FLX4 and the DDJ-200 are the others. There's a whole list of legacy controllers that would work as well. Number 3, you need a DJ audio interface that meets the following criteria. A, it has to be class compliant, so we don't ever have to worry about device drivers. It will be, or should be, forever compatible, despite whatever macOS version you're on. B, it has to have at least 2 pairs of phono inputs. The reason we need a DJ interface as opposed to a regular audio interface is because the phono preamps are built in and has RCA inputs. We could use a regular audio interface with line stereo inputs, but it'll need the addition of external phono preamps, which can be a mess. It's self-contained in the one meant for DJs. See, the interface cannot be natively supported by rekordbox. The reason is because the local support will cause a conflict between the interface and the controller. So for this specific thing we're doing, where we're aggregating the 2 devices, we can't use the Pioneer DJ Interface 2. And also, keep in mind, with the exception of the Interface 2, most DJ interfaces are no longer in production. But I was able to find a box for $200 in the used market that met all 3 of the entire criteria. Shout out to Professor BX for helping me research this. I went with the Traktor Audio 6 I found for $200 because it doesn't need a driver to run and has 2 phono inputs. Make sure not to confuse this with a similarly named Complete Audio 6, which is an entirely different device. Meeting all 3 of that criteria, you can go with the Traktor Audio 6 or the Traktor Audio 10. Now it will work with the Audio 4 and the 8, but they're not class compliant. If driver support ever ceases, you won't be able to use it anymore. Now because we're driver free, it doesn't mean we don't need additional utilities. For this interface, we'll need the latest Traktor Audio 6 device updater, and the latest control panel. This will get us the latest firmware for the interface, and the control panel will help us toggle the phono preamps and inputs since they're not controlled externally. Number 5, you might need a USB hub and additional USB cables. You have 2 USB devices that you need to connect, and we know MacBooks aren't known for their abundance in available ports. Number 6, you will need turntables, timecode records, and all needed accessories like slip mats and cartridges. Keep in mind, Serato timecode is compatible with rekordbox, but rekordbox timecode records will give you the best performance that reduce drifting. It's always best to use the timecode made for that software. Serato for Serato, rekordbox timecode for rekordbox. Number 7, you will need to activate DVS on rekordbox. The Flex 6 wasn't meant to be a DVS device, so it's not plug and play for DVS activation. The first way is to upgrade your rekordbox plan to at least the core plan, which is $9.99 a month. This doesn't apply to all Pioneer DJ devices, but it does when you're using the entry-level DJ controllers. Now, if you don't want to subscribe, there is another way around this. There are 2 accessory devices that will hardware unlock DVS without a subscription. There's the DDJ-XP1 or the DDJ-XP2, which I have here. By plugging this in through USB, rekordbox will recognize it and automatically activate the DVS function. Now that we got our ingredients we need covered, let's show you how to set this up right after you hit that subscribe button and that little bell icon. So first, with rekordbox closed, connect the DDJ-FLX6 and the Audio 6 to the Mac. If you need to use a USB hub, connect the Flex 6 first, followed by the Audio 6. Next, we're going to update the firmware of the Audio 6 by opening the device updater. If the number in installed firmware is higher than newest firmware, then you have to update. If you don't have the latest one, follow the prompt to update. Once you're updated, close the updater and open the Audio 6 control panel. Make sure phono is checkmarked and through is not. So here in current, we want to make sure we're not in direct through, and we are in phono. Now, if you want to make sure that this is always the setting, go to startup, click on lock, and then we want to make sure that this is not checkmark and it's set to phono on both sides, and click save. Now, whenever you start up your Audio 6, it's always going to be in that setting. And we can see it works because phono is lit up and we see input signal in there. The goal here is to activate the phono preamp so the turntable gets a solid signal. Once this is set, you don't have to worry about doing this again, but if you ever see the phono inputs aren't activated, you can use this utility to reactivate them. So I have my booth and master from the Flex 6 going to speakers like normal, but I plug the turntables into the phono inputs on each side. On input A, I have the turntable on the left. On input B, I have the turntable from the right. That's what's going into here. Make sure your RCAs are color matched to the input. Otherwise, your timecode will make your DJ software spin backwards. Now we're going to open a utility on macOS called Audio MIDI Setup. On the left, we should see the Flex 6 and the Audio 6 listed on the devices. What we're going to do is click the plus sign on the lower left and select Aggregate Device. Let's rename this device to Flex 6 plus Audio 6. Now, with this aggregate device selected, we're going to checkmark both the Flex 6 and the Audio 6. Make sure to do it in that order. Now you basically have this virtual device with a diagram of how the inputs and outputs are configured as they're combined. Now let's open rekordbox and let's head over to Preferences and click the Audio tab. Under Audio, by default, the Flex 6 will be selected as the audio device, but rekordbox lets us change this. So let's change this and select Flex 6 plus Audio 6. Now, rekordbox can read both from the Flex 6 and the Audio 6 as one audio device. Under Input Deck 1, select Input A for left and right. Channel A left, Channel A right. And you can do the same under Input Deck 2, selecting Input B for left and right. Channel B left, Channel B right. Let's scroll down to the outputs. This should already be set by default, but if it's not, make sure to set them to master output and headphone output. Flex 6 master left, master right. Phones left for headphones, phones right. Now let's close the preferences. Now to select DVS on the deck, we have to switch from internal control to relative control, which is a timecode control. Now if you don't have a core plan or a hardware unlocked device connected like the XP2, This will prompt you to activate a license. You cannot use this function without activation. Open my page, and I'm just gonna activate my creative plan. If you don't have a current subscription plan or you don't have a hardware unlock device, follow the prompts to subscribe to the core plan. If you do have an XP1 or an XP2, make sure to plug it in by this point. Once you have DVS activated, you can now select relative, and it's selected. So I'm going to load a song on deck 1, and we're going to put the needle on. Don't forget, you can calibrate the timecode in your preferences. If you have any issues where DVS isn't working, go into your preferences, click DVS, and make sure that it's checkmarked Enable DVS function. This is also the page where you can calibrate your timecode. So I'm going to play this, click this, make sure it's a perfect 0, and just click Start over here. Same on this side, play this, Start. And we're going to stop it, and we're going to check for noise level, calibrate it for that. Now you might wonder, is it worth doing all this? Well, it's totally up to you. The DDJ-FLX6 plus the Audio 6 totals about $850. That's around the price of a DDJ-800, but it's still well under the price of a DDJ-1000. If you just want to practice using turntables in your home setup, this might be an easy, cost-effective option just to help you get your feet wet with DVS and turntable control. Also, keep in mind, with the DDJ-800 and the DDJ-1000, you still need to activate DVS, either with a subscription or a hardware unlock accessory device. Another thing to consider is this. We set this up with the DDJ-FLX6 GT, but remember, we can do this with smaller rekordbox DJ controllers, like the DDJ-FLX4 or even the DDJ-200. Now I know some of you are going to ask, can you do this with Serato? Unfortunately, Serato doesn't allow you to custom configure your audio. So no, you can't do it with Serato. What about Traktor, Virtual DJ, or DJ Pro AI? I haven't tested it myself, but all three of these software allow you to custom configure your audio. So on paper, it's entirely possible. Feel free to try it out and test it yourself. In fact, one unique thing you can do with DJ Pro AI is use their neural mix vinyl, which lets you toggle stems on the DJ software using the timecode record. It emulates a 12-inch single back in the day where the instrumental and acapella was available and all you had to do was lift the needle to get to that track. This vinyl lets you trigger the stems in DJ Pro AI. So, experimenting with DJ gear is just as important as experimenting with the music you play. Thinking outside the box is how we discover unique ways to play. If you want to see another experiment, check out this video where we ran Serato on a handheld gaming console, the Steam Deck. Alright? We'll see you in the next video, and don't forget, the force is with you, always.